Hey guys, this is going to be a kind of a compilation of different passages from the Qumran scrolls and concerning Messiah and who he is, who he isn't, and chronology will be important as we go through this to understand more about who we are. And I'm going to just put a bunch of them out there kind of to have one spot as a repository for them to refer back to. And I wanted to begin with a passage. Let's see here. We're regarding the coming of Melchizedek. It's manuscript 11Q13. Regarding the visitation and the day of salvation that he has decreed through Isaiah the prophet concerning all the captives. Captives, that's you, scattered among the nations with your city masters. And the governors, which are really having a tough time governing upright. Boy, it's just so tough. It's the filthy lucre. So check this out. How beautiful are the feet upon the mountains, are the feet of the messenger who announces peace, who brings good news and salvation. Guys, before he gets here, everybody's talking about peace and security, hashtag peace and security. Before he gets here, the Assyrian tramples our high places. That is the willful king of the North Levant in Syria. I'm not going to beat this dead horse. Folks, you better get this established in your heart. Do know there's a corridor now that's unobstructed. An unobstructed corridor of hostility right from North Korea through China, through Afghanistan, of course Russia as well, through Afghanistan, all on into Iran, Iraq, and Syria to the northern border of Israel via the Golan Heights, the strategic mountain range where Mashiach said, standing on a rock, that the gates of hell will not prevail. And they will not. First the Assyrian, then the peace. When they say peace and security, hashtag peace and security, destruction comes on them, the wicked, because they know not the truth, but instead delight in wickedness, bending, twisting, turning away. He brings peace. Part of peace is to violently remove, via the spoken word of the mouth, not the work of the hand, not to thresh the land with implements of iron, like the Assyrian, who will soon come across the northern border, laying waste Dan and Syria and Samaria and Judea, and right up to Jerusalem, of course. A whisperer. And then the world at this time says your divine being reigns. First you lay down the flesh that will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. Then you are raised incorruptible, seated at the right hand of power. Hashtag one power in heaven. Hashtag divine counsel. The scripture's interpretation, the mountains, the prophets, they who are sent to proclaim God's truth, prophesy to all Israel. That includes the northern kingdom, the southern kingdom, and the sojourner grafted into the commonwealth, the whole household of faith. And the messenger is anointed of the Spirit of whom Daniel spoke. After 62 weeks, an anointed one in the midst of the week shall be cut off, not for himself, being a substitutionary kinsman redeemer, offering himself up spotless and without fault, of course, as a kinsman redeemer to the brother that was sold into bondage. Now, today, and in his day, they boasted about their relationship to Abraham. Oh, we're not slaves, we're descendants of Abraham. We've never been slaves, we're free people. We've never been slaves to anybody. Presently under bondage, let me skip forward, to Syria and the nations, still declaring Abraham Accords, not accordingly, declaring peace, peace, and instead defiling every instruction the Father has given us about making a covenant with heathen, foreign outsiders, because you want to be like the nations. Bring in the Assyrian, an instrument of chastisement. And to teach a stiff-necked and rebellious people, lifting up the banner that is the star of their God. Their God. Be sure when a prophet says your God, it isn't his God. Saying Shabbat Shalom, peace, peace, wink, wink, curtsy, nod. Corrupting one another with flattery and every foul, lecherous abomination. First the Assyrian, then the gentle ruler from Bethlehem. Hashtag gentle ruler from Bethlehem. I'm speaking clearly, regularly on the Twitter to people in Samaria, in Judea. Now, imagine being surrounded on all sides by your enemy and still tucking up underneath some faulty perception of peace within the Abrahamic faiths. Abraham left the lies of Syria, did not capitulate the Assyrian soon coming. He destroyed the idols and the wickedness and the high places and held fast to the covenant. Now, he had concubines, other wives rather, and one of them was named Keturah. That's going to be important here when we look at the passage regarding the Kittim, the Assyrians in the last days to the north. One of them was Keturah. Of course, you're more familiar likely with Sarah and Hagar. And it is the Kittim that is to the north of Syria that are really singled out in multiple passages inside your canon, but in incredible detail here in the last days. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I'm excited. So ask for you to keep me in your prayers that I don't run off the rails too often. The scripture's interpretation here, notice, is after the 62 weeks and an anointed one shall be cut off, then the messenger who brings good news, who announces salvation. This is fragmentary, so kind of piecemealing it together, is the one of whom it is written to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. He is called a divine being when he brings good news. Because you know why? We're all made of 7 different consistencies. Enoch's testimony tells us how we're made. He's a kinsman redeemer and of like kind. And we are made of the same stock he is made of. When you understand that, you understand where you're going and where you will be. Not understanding that likely will have you seeking to ascend without laying down your life, even in the change of in the twinkling of an eye. Even when corruption puts on incorruptible, that is a death. That is a shedding of the old, an old wineskin, giving way to a new one. So that is a form of death and a passing, indeed. Excuse me. 2 options, not 3. To proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord's favor. When he was in the synagogue, he shut the book right after that. And then the next half is the day of vengeance of our God. To comfort all who mourn. I realized recently I'm still mourning things I thought I'd been redeemed of. Or, healed of, rather. And folks, sometimes you just have to, you can't change people. That's what you can't do. Sometimes you just have to move forward and do what the Father has you do and stop hoping that other people that you would like to be walking alongside you in a reasonable manner and bearing burdens would do so. You have to do what you have to do. These are trying times. There's 10,000 excuses of not to do right by your brother. You know what? We all have done that. Let's pick up the pieces where we left off. Be like sons of Issachar who know the times and know what to do. Don't have to be told, don't have to be coddled, don't have to be continually coaxed and continually reminded, gathered up. That's a miserable position to put someone in because of non-committal behavior. First of all, it puts the person in a position where they wonder, did I do something wrong? Just be frank with people. Be forthcoming about what you can do and what you can't do when you're overextended and when you're not overextended. That way you don't leave people hung out to dry. It helps them. It'll help you too. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. And this is the good way. He that is this good instructor, this gentle ruler from Bethlehem, He is to instruct them about all the periods of history for eternity, unto eternity, and in the statutes of the truth, as far and dominion that passes from Belial and returns to the sons of light, by the judgment of God, just as it is written concerning him who says to Zion, your divine being reigns. Isn't that going to be awesome? So let's not get out of kilter and be thinking too lofty about a hashtag divine council without understanding the sequence where that person is then seated at the right hand of said divine council. Just as it is written concerning him who says, your divine being reigns. Zion is the congregation of all of the sons of righteousness, the way of Zadok, which is spoken evil by Sadducees and the Pharisees and the people in the city centers who speak evil of the way of righteousness, preserved faithfully through the Zadokite priests. Zion is the congregation of all the sons of righteousness who uphold the covenant and turn from walking in the way of the people. Your divine being, Melchizedek, righteous king of Shalom or Salem, who will deliver them from the power of Belial. Concerning what Scripture says, then you shall have the trumpet sounded loud in all of the land. A reference to Leviticus chapter 25.